Hi there. Hello, I am Todd Saed, Professor Theodore Jerome Saed III. In Korea, professor 7 years for teaching English as a foreign language. 2 years in Thailand, I was 17 years in Asia. I'm going to tell you how to get a job in Asia, how to keep the job, how to be safe, how to have fun, how to get everything you want out of the experience. About an hour maybe of material that I've prepared here. So this is the start. Why Asia? 60% of the world lives in Asia, and they are the coming economic tigers, they always say. So maybe you need a study break before grad school. Maybe you want to make some extra money. Maybe you just want to have a working vacation, meet some friends, or you're really interested in that particular country or culture. You want the language for grad school, any number of reasons. I had several of these reasons when I first went in 1996. I was there 17 years. I'm here now, retired more or less with my Thai wife. So what can you expect? Well, start with, you're going to go to ESL Cafe or TEFL.com to get the job. And I'll give you that information on a piece of paper later. But you start off, you can check out your air tickets, cheapoair.com, expedia.com, the other discount air places. Get the round trip ticket, get your visa if possible before to be safe. And you can also maybe have to get the apostille from the Department of State on your transcripts and background check. So that's the beginning. And you can check the world clock. I had a lot of problems in the 96 starting off. What time is it? I know, like 12 hours, 15 hours. The world clock at Google. Okay, so say you got your job, let's say. I'll give you the websites in a minute, but just to start with, I did a certification class in 2002 in Bangkok, Thailand, called Text and Talk. So I'm going to show you some of the highlights and the main things from that month and a half certification teaching English as a foreign language. One of the main things was like this. They call it ramps to fame. So ramps means like this. Recency, what you first learned, what you might remember. Appropriate, is this useful for the student? Motivate, why does he want to learn this? Tell him why. Give him a reason why. Primacy, what you last learned, maybe what you will remember, retain. Okay, and the sequential things like this, your logical order, simple to complex. And the F, feedback. The communication is the response, they say. Feedback, so you wanted your concept checks, you want your, see if they're getting it, so forth. And then you could have the activities or the action. 90% is retained that is executed with action. Maybe only 50% of speaking and hearing. And last, then you could have the multiple senses, body language, total physical response, TPR. You'll see this in the teaching books. And last, exercise, practice, just practice in your class, in your group work, you have your practice. So if you want to, I'll hold this for a minute. Ramps to fame, recency, appropriate, motivation, primacy, what you learn first, maybe what you remember, and sequential, simple to complex. F for feedback, A, activities, M for multiple sense learning, and E, exercise, practice your activities when they are in the class. Could be games or songs, so on. Okay, so one of the main pedagogical teaching things they give us, I was in Korea 12 years, 3 years Thailand, a year in China and Japan. We're like all kinds of different pedagogy, different theories. Oh, English only, but then in your own class, you'll find out a little bit of the foreign language helps get you close. So you work out your own way. In Korea, though, you got to follow their way pretty much, but within that lesson coursework they have, we'll have a lot of opportunity to be creative. So anyhow, this is the common thing they tell you: the present, practice, 50% heard and seen is what's retained, and 90% of what's executed. So the teacher's talking only 20%. So the group work is doing the execution. That's ideal. Okay, and then you've got the produce or production, the exercises in the class, your group work. Commonly in Asia, you would want the group work because that's how their culture is. It works out better for you. You can facilitate the groups, walk along, then you're going to have time to check homework and do a variety of things in class and so forth. So, depending on class, the size and so forth. Groups of 2 or 3 up to 6. Okay, there's a sample lesson plan. My first couple of years, I kind of winged it. I did better when I got a certificate and learned how to clearly make a lesson plan. So commonly it would be something like this: objectives. So I'd write on the board 15 minutes before the class started the objectives. Also, you could call them what, goals, purposes, aims. And I would put objectives, but underneath that, I'd put P blank, 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 closure for purposes, and G blank, blank, blank for goals. And then I'd elicit those. And I'd put under that paraphrase, because we were paraphrasing, which is a useful language learning thing to have. Paraphrasing equals interesting. So I would elicit another word for objectives from the class before I would write it down. I have G blank, 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 would be goals, reasons, aims, purposes. I might go shoot my gun to aim, and purposes. So just a little bit of a paraphrasing, building vocabulary for the class in a natural way. Okay, then materials. Okay, you got your board, you got your book, you got your pencils, you got your CD, you got whatever materials you need. Have that down there so you're not going to forget anything. Get ready 15 minutes early. And then present. So you got the warmer. Oh, hey, have you ever been to Italy? I got this postcard here. And then I got this other one here. I'll read it to you. Tell me, where does it come from? So they got context clues. They can guess where it comes from by reading the postcard. You don't tell them necessarily. And then you can do your Lexis, introducing the vocabulary, and the concept check, asking a few people, a few questions. They've got it. And you're not going to want to say, is it understood? Do you understand it? That puts them on the spot. Is it clear? So I'll show you that later, how to do that in Chinese. But then you got the context prediction, for example, like I'm showing the postcard, reading it, they guess the country. And then you can have the gist question: what is the main points of the lesson? So, and then you have the practice, your activities. List the activities, read page 1 to 10, do exercise 3, but whatever your activity in the class is going to be, the group work. Then production, and you have your groups working on the exercise in the class, writing the conversation, memorizing whatever it is, and you go around and you circulate and facilitate a little bit with the groups. And then you can model it, and you wrap up the conclusion and can review a little bit. And then I would play a game always, especially in Korea. They love the games and a song. So the common game I would play, I call it the English Olympics. I just made that up. I mean, you can call it whatever you want to, but the game was this. After the end of the lesson's over, I get my teams, 3 or 4 teams. One member goes to the board. I write this sentence. It is very blank, blank, blank today. I gave an extra hint here. I wouldn't do that ordinarily, maybe, but just for here, so you can obviously see it's very hot today, H-O-T. I might put the first letter on a long word. The first team to write the correct word from the missing word from the sentence then would get, for example, with 3 teams, they get 3 points for their team. The second team finishes, get 2 points. The last team gets 1 point. And at the end of the game, you might give a little piece of candy to the winning team or give it to everybody or something. I just call it Olympics. You can use it for very flexible, any lesson. You can use this for just about anything to have a game. But there's many other games, of course, like, you'll find in the certification course at Text and Talk in Bangkok, variations of hangman, writing, guessing words from context, so forth. Okay, for the syllabus for a college class, the lesson plan would be a little more elaborate. You'd have the course description, objectives, grading, topics, the outline, your contact information. So a syllabus could be something like that. Contact information, and it's going to be a little more lengthy than maybe a lesson plan for a routine, maybe high school class or something. That'd be the syllabus. In Asia, they have, like China, for example, and Korea, the Confucian tradition. Confucian was teacher-centered. So even when I started there 25 years ago, that was still very strong. There may be elements of that there now, though it's changing, of course, with Westernization. They're doing a good job about that, actually. But then there are commonly Buddhist in Korea, and 95% in Thailand, maybe 20% in Korea, or Christian evangelicals and so forth. But anyhow, it's teacher-centered was their cultural mode. So our ideal is student-centered. So with the group work, if you get to groups, you are getting toward that student-centered ideal, because talking 20%, mingling, circulating, facilitating, not heavy-handed lectures, nonstop talking. Okay, so that's the idea. So I would start off with my group then. Once I gave the presentation for 5-10 minutes, introduce the lesson, they would make a little name tag like this. So this shows their name in Korean, and this one would be Korean, Ang So Young. Then she chooses an English name, which could sound like her Korean name. They like to do that. They can make a little picture. It's like a little obelisk, so they can sit this on their desk, and all the people at their group can see that person's name. And we do introductions. And I would get like a California handshake, bumping hands, whatever, do funny handshakes. Nice to meet you. Oh, nice to meet you too. Nice to meet me 3. Yeah, make up something, for them to have their introductions, their warm-ups, get into the lesson. And that's their culture, the group ethic, and it's great. They have strong families and all that. So when you're giving the beginning at the lesson, and when you're doing the concept check I mentioned before, is it clear? In Chinese here, I've got it in Chinese, right? Jing Chuma. Jing Chuma. And then you have the characters if you want. You do this for Korean, you can do this for Thai language. You can Lexis certain key classroom phrases like this, and this is one of the best ones. Is it clear? So it's on you to make it clear. That's your job, and you'll learn how to do that naturally and get your routine going and all that. But these can apply to, I think, all of the other jobs, like in the Middle East and Europe also. You'll get some hard cases that say English only 100%, which, it's a little unrealistic, because there's going to be very low-level classes or low-level students where it's really going to help to give a few difficult or key phrases in their language. And once they've got it, it doesn't take that much time even. So I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with it. It just depends on your school, and you can figure it out for yourself and what works. Okay, so that's something that you can use too. Okay, in my course in Thailand, Text and Talk, certification class, I don't know if they're even around. It was 15 years ago. So I was, retired from Changwon National University. My last year I did public administration, so I got to work my way up into more funner, independent. I designed the whole course, so you just keep going and you'll get where you want to be. You might start off with a grammar school, preschool, whatever. In Korea, they got a lot of jobs, ESL Cafe. And then after a year or two, you could work up to high school. They have EPIC, there's something called EPIK in Korea, where Department of Education, for example, in Incheon, where they have English camps. You get teacher training. We helped write a manual, so I've still got the manual that I helped write for business English. So you can build up on your resume that way. To get a college job, then, you need 1 year experience and a master's degree. You get 4 months paid vacation. You get all these 10, 12-hour work weeks. It's fantastic. Everybody wants that, but you have to have a master's degree commonly, or 3 years experience and a bachelor's, or 1 year and a master's. So I had to go to work in Thailand for half the money for a year to qualify for that. And then I got to be a full professor in Korea for 7 years. So it was worth it. I lucked out. I don't know how sometimes. Sometimes God and nature, maybe jumps in there and gets you someplace where you might not even have gotten to or knew about. Anyhow, so in the course at Text and Talk in Thailand, this is one of the big things I thought was useful. Phonetic spelling. That's a common problem. I just got shocked today. My wife telling me that they didn't understand me as well as the English speakers from England. I'm from California for 45 years. We always thought that we had no accent, general American. Turns out when I'm saying the ninth, I'm holding out the TH sound too long to make it more difficult for the Thai to understand. It's like ninth. So the English man, the English person, a speaker from England would have it shorter and clearer on the final syllable. I'm aware of that. I tried to do that. I mean, you slow down and you get loud and clear. I mean, it just comes out of necessity in your classes. But you're only doing 25% theoretically, so or 20% teacher talk time. So che or CHAY, chair is sort of like the phonetic pronunciation, right? And then you got fin, and then the fin is more the tongue, that's it, protruding, right? Fin, more air coming out, so they put a little dash in the TH, or the then, but the then you get the buzz tone, that is, a buzz tongue, then you buzz the tongue, so they put a little dash there. Then the fin is more just a TH with the tongue protruding. And you can show L and R. In Korea, it's the same character. So you can draw a picture of the mouth and the tongue. L, the tongue touches the top of the mouth for L, and then R, the tongue is neutral in the middle. And it's the same character in Korean. So, and also in Japanese, they have a hard time distinguishing between L and R. And in fact, you probably might have heard some people make fun of that. But anyhow, so you could have think. It's think, but you see, you got the little G sound. It's actually think. So it's not, doesn't sound that clear, but it's in there. The common pronunciation, the little G sound at the end. So the phonetic spelling in our textbook for Text and Talk had like this. But there are many other certification classes, and if you get the TEFL certificate, and it takes a month or two, maybe $1,000, you'll have a lot more opportunities in Thailand or Korea to move up to college, to just get the best jobs, and it's just good for you anyhow to be a better teacher. Okay, so one of the things we did emphasize at the teacher training, I was a teacher trainer for 2 months, Department of Education in Incheon, Korea. EPIC, the department, it's called EPIK, Department of Education in Incheon, Korea. We had these 2 months of teachers. We wrote a manual, and this was the main theme in all the classes. IRE, idea, reason, example. Idea, I like movies. Reason, they are funny. Example, I saw Titanic with my friend. This is a way to organize the thinking, the writing, the speaking. Just the main technique we tried to get the students who are middle school or high school to be aware of. And then the other study technique is SQ3R, survey, question, read, recite, review. That means you read slow for math and medium for history, and fast for a newspaper, and review after 1 day, 1 week, 1 month, whatever is necessary, maybe the end of the semester. Those are some of the main things in the English camps there. Okay, online at academia.edu, you can get your more advanced. I've got all my movie research papers there called STEM, all STEM papers, academia. But there's many foreign language teachers on there, English language, TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language. Then online, you get the VIP kids, Chinese kids. There's always looking for people. iTutor, Magic, all the different ones online. You can just Google. There's many. And then onestopenglish.com, that's got like lesson plans, a lot of things. BogglesWorldESL.com's got games and in color that you can print out, different board games and stuff. And eChinaCities.com, that's the Chinese jobs. Society for Teaching English Through the Media, that was the movies research we did in Korea. But there's other ones like OhioSensei.com and Ajan.com for China and Korea. So that would be like this. So here's the main websites for jobs. ESL Cafe is #1. Dave Sperling just had a 2-hour podcast on YouTube. That was pretty fun about how he started in '96. ESL Cafe, it's the #1 job place. And then TEFL.com is almost equal. OhioSensei.com for Japan. Ajarn, AJARN.com for Thailand. And eChinaCities.com for China. Okay, and I remind you again about the World Clock and the Apostille for the State Department. Okay, so that's job sites. You can find them online, of course. There's many. Okay, another thing you might want to check out is the stress. That's another common pronunciation, understanding accents. That really throws them sometimes, so if you can clear that up, one way is starting like this, so you understand how the stress works. In English, it's a little different than other languages. So if I say, I am going to the store, I can say it 7 different ways, stressing a different word and give it a different meaning. I am going to the store. I'm going to the store. Oh, happy store. I'm going to the store, the only one. So you can stress each word and get a different meaning. So that's something you can try out with your class to explain the meaning when you do that. So, and you'll get a little better understanding of how the stress works. Okay, and then I want to show one more thing here about, I mentioned Dave's ESL Cafe as the #1 site, and then TFL. He has a book called The Internet Guide for English language teaching. So with the COVID now, the internet is going to be the big thing for a while. Hopefully that will end. Dave Sperling, then, The Internet Guide for English Language Teaching. You can get it for 66 cents used, I think it is, on Amazon. And other points of interest that I got in my 16 years, the Cambridge University Press Day. Excuse me, that was every year, and you meet famous people and so forth. And then there's the TEFL, that's the Korean English Teachers Conference every year. And then the CATE, that's the Korean and foreign English teachers. And then the STEM, Society for Teaching English Through the Media, my director was the founder, and I have my research there on movies for English. STEM, all STEM papers at academia.edu. Okay, so I also, after 17 years, I spent 3 or 4 years writing the book. 400-page course on how to teach English in Asia, incorporating all these things and all the games, and I kind of paraphrased my certification class, so you could save $900 for that way. and they're out of business now. So anyhow, so it's called the TEFL Manual by Todd Saed, Amazon.com, $20. Another book there, Super Learning, How to Study 2 to 10 Times Faster by Lynn Ostrander. It's about, I think it's $5, maybe or less, for a used one. Okay, and finally, lastly, at youtube.com, I'm going to have this presentation. It's going to be called the TEFL Lesson March 2021. And I also have a Demo TFL Best New, a short little video I made on teaching kids TFL Demo Lesson January 2020 with some puppets and games and Chinese character stuff. And my movie video, I did an acting school in India, Mumbai, Anupam Kher. I was trying to get a job, movies. So I made a video for that, did some harmonica. And there are many harmonica and music videos and tennis and other things. Todd Saed, Todd-Saed, at youtube.com. Okay, now I'm just going to show you the main books that we used in Korea, and you can get these yourself at Amazon. This is the #1 book, New Interchange. I saw this in every country. It's my favorite book. I used it for 17 years, and it never failed me. Got very good reviews. I got kids telling me I was the best teacher they ever had. I was usually rated 6 or 7 out of 20 teachers at the university. I was at for 5 years, but I was doing research and other people weren't, so I'm distracted a little bit to have from having a high rating. But New Interchange, you've got the CD, you've got the workbook, you've got the teacher's book, you've got all kinds of exercises, color. This is Cambridge University. I mean, they are #1. Oxford University is equal in a lot of ways, but this is usually preferable. If you look them over the two for yourself, you'll see what I mean. So it's got the conversation warm-ups, the grammar focus, got little stories, conversation. You've got a CD to play with it, and workbook, and it's just the basic standard. That's why I saw it. That's why I saw it in every country at the top schools. So there's like intro for the beginning students, and this is 2 for the intermediate students. Interchange 2. There's intro 1, 2, and 3. That's it. You could go with that if you get private students, and you'd never go wrong. Okay. When I got to the public administration my last year, English for public administration, I had to move up a little bit. So I did get an Oxford University book on reading. I didn't even know about this book before, but I had to design the course, and this is the book I got for them, cover to cover, about context clues, scanning, skimming, reading exercise, all about reading. So this is cover to cover by Cambridge University Press. That worked out very well. This is what the manual looked like at the Text and Talk. We had about 7 or 8 of these. It was like $900 for a month and a half in Bangkok. It'll be very complete, and I'd be willing to share stuff. Most of this stuff is in my book, the TFL manual at Amazon. I started business English at 2 universities, one in Thailand, one in Korea. The first business English they had. I wanted to do something useful that could be productive for them, motivate them. So New International Business English, this was Cambridge University Press also. So you've got the CD, you've got the teacher book, you've got the workbook. You can have them in class, drawing advertisements, all kinds of interesting things, business letters, complete book there. Okay, and just as an afterthought here, more or less, Student-Centered Classroom by Lee. This is also Cambridge University Press, which was my favorite. Leo Jones, he wrote other books on like the Let's Talk books, some others. You can get that one. And then I stumbled on this book, the Slang for my business class, the Slangman Guide to Biz Speak. This has idioms and slang used for business. It's a very big book. So this can be a great supplement to round out a business English class or any kind of class that might have business in it. Okay, so and last but not least, or maybe least but not last, this was a book used at the university I was at for 5 years, Kunmin University. It's rated about 25 or 30 now. They are #1 in design or something. It's in Seoul. So we actually wrote this book. The teachers collaborated. And there's many guys that didn't like it. It is a little sketchy in parts. And compared, it does not hold up to interchange. It just, the people, it was just this one university, Kunmin, that had this printed, and they had a variety of, teachers that are some young and inexperienced and so forth. So this is called Head Start. So you may end up with something like that at a private school where they have their own kind of dubious books. So you just use it and then you add as much of your own stuff as you can. And so I hope this will give you an idea of some of the options. I mean, if you want to work overseas for a year or two, or maybe it'll turn into a career, lead to network into other great kind of jobs. My office mate from New Zealand, he ended up being in the movies and doing commercials in Korea, which he does to this day. And it's his sideline. And so great things like that can happen. Okay, ESLcafe.com, TFL.com, Todd Saed, TODD, @hotmail. If you have any questions, you want to collaborate on some research for movies, just maybe get some advice or discussion, Todd Saed @hotmail.com. Okay, I could say goodbye in 14 languages. Annyeong ikaseo, sayonara, lagon, alvider, dashredin, hichala. But I'm not going to. So I'll just say goodbye. Thank you very much. And I hope you give it your best effort and best of luck to a fantastic job, a break in your studies, or something more. Bye-bye.